let's go over the screen quickly. As you'll see, here's the home button. This will get you to the other options. Your park brake is right next to the home icon. Your park brake can be found here. Press that if you want to go anywhere. If for some reason your Siloking is not starting, it could be that you aren't in N. So make sure as you start the machine, you might have to move the pedals a little bit to make sure it's in N. The yellow icon here is the joystick, so when you put your hands on properly, that goes away, and now you will be able to move the boom, but only after you press the blue hydraulic screen or button. So you press the hydraulic button, and hydraulic button will go from, or the icon will go from red to green. Everything else is pretty straightforward. You have your def, your fuel gauge, kilometers per hour gauge, scale, and different readings from there. If you press the home button, you can get back to all the other different buttons on the screen. If you press the loading button, this screen will come up. If you press if you want to go back to the other screen, you press home. Here will be the unloading button, and then everything goes back to home. So if you want to go back to your original screen, you press the Siloking button and you go from there. Let's go over some of the controls. Throttle, park brake on or off, four-way flashers, lights, light bar, windshield wiper on the side, the rest are over here. Heated mirror, low speed, high speed transmission. This is your hydraulic button that you must press to engage or shut off your hydraulics. F1, F2, F3, and 4 we will cover later. This is your toggle switch, which we'll cover later. This is your auger, slow speed, auger high speed, and if you press that the second time on newer models, that'll give you the clean out speed. These two open and close the guard in front of the auger. These are your directional auger speeds, also your conveyor. This is your max throttle. This is your minimum throttle. Those can be set as will be shown in the video. These are buttons concerning the unloading part of the machine. Down button is door down on the tub, door up, conveyor on, conveyor in, conveyor out, and this is your auto setting.
But here you go, you got your binder going in.
Okay.
So you want to have it here. If you want to program this, you set your throttle to where you want it.
Yep.
So let's say we want it to be at 1900 or 2000.
Yeah.
Then you just hold the button. I don't know how long you hold it for, but just hold it. And eventually it programs it. So you see now the bottom one's programmed to about 1500, which is if you're mixing your light load on low speed, that's about where you want to be.
Okay.
But if you're loading or any higher, you always want to be over 2000. So now our top speed is right at 19.6 for RPMs. When I'm mixing the milk cow load, I'm always wide open because I want to have as much power as I can because this is a really big load and it's got a lot of fiber to it.
Okay.
So now it's wide open.
Okay. Okay, so now we are
Adding the pump pad.
Yeah.
Or adding the binder and the pump pad. So let's go turn on the button.
okay.
Down there. Before you turn the mixing augers on, always make sure your doors are closed.
Okay.
Just because if they're open and you turn them on, you're going to lose whatever you just put in there, and we just put in the most valuable feed ingredient. So there you go. Ready to go. Doors closed. Mixers on. Okay. For turning the mixers on, you turn on the button. You want to make sure you're already at revs. Turn on the button. Press this button right here. So you start in low speed. And for the first half load, I always like to mix it in high, especially when I'm adding in the round bales.
Okay.
So I'll put it into rapid right away. And I'll back out of the barn and I'll open up the door.
So rapid is, so you start with this,
Yeah.
rapid's your second button.
Yeah, your second speed there. You can't really see them because they're right beside the joystick, but they're both there.
Yeah, got it. So the rapid is
The
this button.
Further
Start with this button.
Yep.
Okay.
Beauty. So when you're loading a round bale, you want to start at the top of the bale and drive in until the loading head says it's about 3/4 maxed out. The yellow bar will get to about here, and then you'll lower the loading arm, and you'll take a swipe out of the round bale.
Okay.
You'll do that about 3 or 4 times, and then there'll be just left loose hay on the ground, and then you load up the loose hay into the mixer with the arm all the way on the ground. So you kind of face it first, you break the bale up, and then you load it all the way up. While you're doing it, it will load some. You want to try to always keep your loading head here. You see how when you press the button here to turn on the loading head, you want to have this right between, and when it's fully loaded, it goes red and yellow and then red. You want it to be right between there. You want it to be at about that level all the time when you're running it. It means you're making the head work, but you're not jamming it. If it's red and it stays red for more than 2 or 3 seconds, the head usually jams up and it's just a pain in the butt. But all you do is reverse it and start again.
Okay.
So you can try that. Okay, so good job. You've loaded all the round bales. But hey, a bunch of it's stuck on top of those augers there. This is what you do. You go back to your variable speed selector on the mixer drum, sorry, on the mixing auger, and if you hold it for 3 seconds, it'll turn it into ultra speed, where it will speed it up, and then you see the grass, and you go back to the video, and the grass will eventually get knocked off. Sometimes it doesn't, and you gotta do it twice. But otherwise, what I will do is I'll stop suddenly, and it'll shake it loose right about now. So if you go backwards, well,
So when I press the
button,
fast speed one twice,
you hold it.
hold it.
You gotta hold it for about 2 seconds.
Okay.
So now, and it runs, and you gotta give it a minute. So when it's back here, it'll run for about 30 seconds, and it takes a minute to kind of recharge before it does it again.
Okay.
It just doesn't want you to always be running at that high speed because it wears on the engine, I suppose, or the motor. So I don't know.
Okay.
Anyways, so what you should do is so what you can do now is next time you're in high speed,
Yeah.
I want you to drive forward and slam on the brakes, and you'll shake all the feet a little bit, and it should just pop off really easily.
While I'm mixing?
While you're mixing, while it's in that ultra mode.
Okay. So do that now, and I'm now going to...
When you get to the silage pile here, you want to put the top of your auger and the top of the silage pile want to be level, so you don't shoot feed over the top of the pile. And you also want to make sure that when you start, at the very beginning, you want to push into the pile quite hard so that the auger is buried in the silage pile. That way you don't get that much silage falling down onto the ground, and then you can load it. So what you want to do is drive into the pile and then sit on your brake and then lower the arm slowly as you go. And the speed of the arm, you should be trying to keep that this level here right around the yellow mark.
Yeah.
And then when you're done loading that, you want to pull back, lift your arm up a little bit, let all the feed clear, and then scrape up what is left on the ground. There's usually just a little bit, but you want to make sure that you're pressed hard against the pile to minimize the amount of feed that falls on the ground, especially if you're dealing in wet conditions like that edge of the pile over there.
Okay.
Well, there's something called the Siloking slope. If you look at the silage pile here, we push in, and we sit on our brake, and then the arm will pull down, and because as you go lower, the radius, it's a circle, the silage pulls towards you, so it's called the Siloking slope. So what we do is we start here at the top, push down, and then at the very bottom we'll push it again because of all the feed that's on the ground. You just don't want to have a whole lot of feed. If you look what you're standing on, you don't really want that to be so big. So what we actually do is every morning we'll scrape that up with the skid steer while we're cleaning up milk cow refusals, and I'll feed it to my heifers just so that it doesn't spoil in the rain or in the sun or whatever. Just keep it nice and tidy.
Yeah.
We're gonna add supplement, bin 4. We don't believe in having a remote on this farm, so you have to get out, apparently.
Okay.
So when you want to get out, you want the mixer to still be running because you're adding grain.
Correct.
So what you do is you have your park brake on,
Yep.
your mixer's running,
Yep.
and your revolutions are over, I believe, 1800.
Okay.
Okay? So now what you do, raise the steering, is you stand up,
Okay.
get out of the seat,
Okay.
then you see here this, okay. So what happened now, sit back down,
Yep.
is that it will only allow you to run the mixer with you not in the seat if the doors are closed.
Okay.
It's a safety thing. It doesn't want anyone to turn the mixers on and go crawl into the mixer wagon or something silly like that. So what we do is as you close, make sure the doors are closed.
Okay. The doors of the mixer wagon.
Of the mixer wagon are closed. Now stand up again. See if we did it.
Okay.
Beauty. Okay, now you see this here?
Yeah.
So what you do here now is you hold the on button for the mixing auger for 3 seconds.
Okay.
And you see now it changed to that. Mixer auger is on, seat not assigned. Mixing auger just switched on. So now you can get out and the mixers will run.
Okay.
They'll run for about 15 minutes on superfast. So it's okay. This one is like facing the grass pile. You want to start at the top again, level at the top, push in, and then just let the arm work its way down while you're sitting on the brake so that you're not pushing the transmission, you're not pushing the mixer into the pile the entire time. But with this one here, because we are fully loaded, we want to maintain, we don't want to load the stuff on the ground until the very end, because when you have the arm up, it shoots the feed level, and that will just hit our big pile of feed and cause a pile that will overload the mixer, and then the feed wraps around and just comes out the bottom of the arm here. It doesn't do anything bad, it's just annoying because you can't load it. So what I'll do is I'll do the first part of the pile here. I'll do about until there's about 1,500 kilos left to go into the mixer, and then I'll come back and I'll scoop the bottom up for that last 1,500 kilos.
And why do you scoop the bottom last? Because
the angle on the mixer arm will be the angle on the feed when it goes in shoots it up because the arm is down, and so the angle on the conveyor is a sharper angle, and we'll get the feed to the middle of the mixer and it won't bunch up in the front.
Got it.
On the Siloking, all Silokings, F1 is your home screen. This one here is your home screen, which shows you this is mainly for when you're driving on the road. You got your tack, your speed is somewhere around here too. And then, up there, and then you got your weight there and your fuel levels, then your trip and your odometer. F2 will be your loading program shortcut. So that'll be, you press this and you can access all of your loading programs, and then you can feed your cows the recipe that you desire. Then F3 actually does climate control.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you press F3, you get to the climate control. So this is your AC, defrost, where you want your fan set, your temperature, all that fun stuff. And then F4 does unloading programs. So it's kind of nice because the two buttons on the far right, F2 and F4, are loading and unloading. So it's pretty convenient. So F4 gets your unloading one. And for our farm, the only ration that has multiple groups on one ration is the milk cow ration. Okay. So you see here, we have it, the total amount, 9,000. I've already fed a bit out of the mixer. So you want this number here to equal whatever your mixer total is. Okay. So mine is 9,000, and at the beginning of the load, this was 9,000 as well. So then you press continue, and you see there, it'll do that, 24,17,325, and that'll automatically adjust itself. All these numbers will adjust themselves to hit whatever you said the total of the mix needs to be. So you continue. We've already done R1 main, I've already done R3 main. So now we're on to R1 front. So now we're on to R3 main. So you see these two things here. This is your, well, if you look at this from above, this is your Siloking. So here's your head, here's your conveyor, here's your right side door, here's your left side door. You have your right side door, so if you open the door, it'll show up as being a percentage open or closed. So right now it's 10%, 20%. That's just with these ones here. Yeah. So what I'll do, or what I've done, is I've set these for automatic amounts. So I'll put it up to 60, and then I'll put my conveyor out, and then I'll put my conveyor on. So when I was training on these, I would not run my conveyor at 100% because you load out really fast. I would slow it down to 50. So how you do that is this gray toggle switch here, is you can scroll it around on the screen like we just did, and then when you get to the conveyor, you select it.
Do you press this button for that side though? This one?
Yeah, that's after you set it.
Okay.
But so now that I have everything set where I want it, I would turn the conveyor on, and you'll see it'll turn on. And then you hold the auto. If you want to keep this as your setting for everything, you hold the auto button, and you'll see on the screen there that yellow line will load.
Yeah.
And that yellow line loading means that once it's all the way there, it means it's saved it. Okay. So it's like a preset on a radio. So now I have preset controls for everything. So auto now, this auto button will open and close it. So you see now it'll close it. It's closing the door.
Yep.
and it's kicking it down to 0, and then once the conveyor has emptied itself out completely, the conveyor will retract back in.
Okay.
So it does that all just by the one button. You see now the conveyor